Well, g'day. My name's Dave. I wanted to show you the process of writing a note. When I was researching what a Zettelkasten was, I had a mate nagging me to do one, to start creating one. I didn't really know what it looked like. It took me a while to get my head around that. So I wanted to show you the process of writing a note. But there's a couple of key concepts to think about first. Each note needs to be atomistic and autonomous, which means it has one idea and the idea can stand by itself. So you can pick out one card, read it, and know what it is and why that piece of information is important. So with that in mind, I'll demonstrate for you what it looks like. Okay, so I've got some notes here from some reading I was doing. This is kind of professional reading. It's mostly where I do my Zettelkasten for. And so I look at my note there, it's a quote actually from the book. And so I'll get out a new card. So I have a box of cards, blank ones, ready to go. And I'll just check what number I'm up to at the back end of my Zettelkasten. So I noticed that I did card 136 the other day, so this one is going to be card 137. Right on there, I like to write the date so that I can keep track of my thinking over time. So just write the date quickly there so that I know if my thinking has changed over time, I can check the dates, and if I want to, I can go back to the calendar, find out what I was doing at the time, see what influences there was on my thinking. And then I need a heading. So the heading kind of needs to describe what's going to be in the card, so that if I'm flicking through and I see the heading, I can kind of have a bit of an idea of the information that's going to be there. And so I'll just read this card here and I'll think, write a heading. And then for this one, I'm just going to write the quote. That seems to be information. Or sometimes it's a good idea to write it in your own words, but I prefer the quote, and then I'm going to add in another sentence after that. So I'll write that in. Okay, so once I've got the quote there, I need to write a sentence about why it's important, and why I wanted to record this information. So for me, I'm a pastor. Preaching is a big part of what I do. And so this is a quote about preaching. And so I'm going to write what this means for me. So this means I need to pray throughout process. So neatness and stuff might be important to you. For me, it doesn't matter too much. I can read my writing. The kind of Zettelkasten's for me, so that doesn't worry me too much about how neat it is. I like my writing. Not everyone else does, but I do. So on the back of the card, I'll write kind of where it's come from. So this is a book by Murray Capil, so I just write Capil. The book's called Heart is the Target, so I'll write that on there. And I'm also going to keep a record of where I've taken my notes. So commonplace book for me, that's what I call them, and it's book D for me in my system, just so that if I ever want to find it again, I can. And then I have a separate book where I record kind of a bibliography of what cards. So if somebody asks me about a particular person, I can find that. So here I've got, this is the author. I've been reading this book for a while, so I have a few cards, and so I'll just note that I also wrote 137 for that one. You don't have to do that, it's just something I like doing, so I can keep track of who I've been reading and where I've been getting stuff. Now it's important to link, so There's a couple of different ways you can link. You could read through cards, kind of cycle through your Zettelkasten and find cards that are relevant and linking. I sometimes remember cards, or I'll search through. So I had a bit of a check before for a card that might link, just so it's a little bit quicker for the video. And so I'm going to find that card. So this is about the spiritual task of preaching for me. So obviously your content's going to be different. If I find card 37.3, which is a Bible verse for me about the Spirit transforming us. So that links to this. So I'd write 137 on there, but then I also want a backlink to here. So I'd write 37.3. So that way I've got that link there. Put that card back in, and then there's also a card. This is the same book. Oh no, this is actually a different book. So that's interesting. So this is about a book of the Bible called Galatians, about the gospel working through God's Holy Spirit. So that links to kind of the work of preaching. And so again, I put 137 on that one, and then 126 on that one. Put that one back in. And so that's enough links, really. You could think up others if you like, but I tend to, if I've got one or two to start with, I'm happy enough with that. It gives me access to that information from different places. And I might find it again later, which I'll explain next. So I just plug that in at the other end where it needs to go. So once you've got a bunch of notes, then you get to the point where you might want to do outline cards. And so what I do for an outline card is, once I've kind of researched a topic, I've got a lot of information about it, I want to draw some of all the threads together, there's links all over the place, I'll do this. So this picture here that's going to pop up is what I did. So I laid out a bunch of different cards in topics. And then as I did that, I was kind of putting them in a logical order. I was kind of thinking through it and clarifying my thinking. I actually found lots of other different links that I hadn't seen before as the cards were kind of all laid out. So I wrote those on as I went. And then I got a different coloured card, a blue one. You don't have to get a different colour. I just wanted to be able to find them easy. And then you write out an outline. So let me demonstrate that for you, and I'll show you. I'm just getting it out of my Zettelkasten here. Yeah, so here we go, here's one. So that's an outline card there. So what I did, I kind of had a heading which kind of told me the kind of topic of what the thing was about, what I was looking at. I've got the dates on there again, like I did for the other card, so I can track my thinking. And then down the side here, I've just written the number of the card and then a short sentence about what it is that card was telling me. So you notice they're not in numerical order, because numerical order doesn't matter. Numerical order is merely historical. It doesn't help you with the logic. So this is a logical thing. And then I can, if I want to know more information, I can go back to the card itself, or I can go back into its source, which would have been on the back of all those other cards. But then if I want to write something now, if I want to write a blog post or a journal article or kind of issue paper for my colleagues, that kind of thing, or I want to even just read about what I've been thinking about, I've now got a whole bunch of different information there from different sources from what I've been reading that I can go and chase up. So this might be the 4 or 5 dot points of a blog post, or the beginnings of an essay, or maybe it just opens up another question. And so that's what I also do. So as I discover questions that I want an answer to or interested in, I'll just note it down on a totally separate card, not really part of the Zettelkasten, but just fits together. So things I want to revisit and think about that have come up. Sometimes I come up with kind of tasks I want to do, and so I've ticked those off or I've done those ones. I just keep a record of that and just have them at the front of the Zettelkasten. And then once I've got a bunch of outline cards, what I then did, again, just rifling through, getting it out, I made a meta summary. So different kinds of outline cards. I've got kind of alternate views, that kind of people that disagreed with me and why they disagreed and what I thought about that. That's all there. So then I drew them all together. I called it big pillars of understanding. These numbers here are the outline cards, so it's a kind of a meta summary, and so again I can use that for writing. It gives me paragraphs or dot points or things to bounce off for when I'm writing. The other thing you can do is what's called a linking card. So if you want to tell yourself why two cards are linked together, you can write a card like that. So I'll just find an example of one of those. I did one recently. So here it is. This is what I've done. So I've got the card number as normal. I've got the date like I normally do, and I've got a heading that fits, because remember it needs to be autonomous and atomistic, so it still needs to stand by itself. So this is about racism and image bearing, and I noted that it's a link between card 40 and card 122, and it's to do with the book of the Bible called Galatians. That's why I've written that there. But essentially what I'm doing is I'm linking those two cards. This is the reason why they link. So again, that helps with higher order thinking and kind of really using the information that you have. So if that's been helpful to you, please kind of write a comment and I can answer any other questions you might have. If there's kind of any interest at all, I'll make some more videos that explain a paper-based Zettelkasten. For me, that's much better than a digital solution, but whatever floats your boat.